Hey, UP Catholic, Drew here, and today I'm offering a reflection on the 22nd Sunday in Ordinary Time. In this weekend's readings, Moses in the first reading is encouraging the people of Israel to follow the commandments of God. And in the second reading, Paul is encouraging James and all the Christians and followers of Jesus to be doers of the word and not just hearers only, to hear the commandments, the things that Jesus taught, to not just hear them, but to follow, to be doers. Which brings us to the gospel for the weekend, the Gospel of Mark. And in this, the Pharisees and the scribes are at it again. They're trying to trip up Jesus and accuse him and his followers of not being good, of not following the rules and just being bad boys. And so they question Jesus and his followers. They say, "Why do you and your followers not do the ceremonial washing of hands before meals?" Which was the Jewish custom at the time, along with the cleansing of the vessels and cups and bowls. And Jesus responds. He quotes Isaiah. He says, "Well, did Isaiah prophesy about you hypocrites? As it is written, this people honors me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. In vain do they worship me." And he goes on and says, "Nothing that enters one from outside can defile that person, but the things that come out from within are what defile. From within people, from their hearts, come evil thoughts. All these evils come from within and they defile." In the Old Testament and in the history of salvation, God put this great emphasis on external purity, the cleanliness as people would approach the Holy of Holies, understanding that they had to get this idea of like purity and cleanliness, of this separation of like God being so holy. But as we move into the New Testament and in the new covenant established by Christ, the focus changes from the external to the internal purification. It's no longer just about washing your hands and making sure the vessels are clean, which is important, but he's talking about what's most important, the internal motivations of our hearts. That it's not just about when we go to Mass, the rituals are important, but we shouldn't be just falling into a routine of just giving empty lip service and not really focusing on where our hearts are. We should be uniting our hearts with Christ, with the sacrifice of the Mass. But we can put too much of an emphasis on external things. I know one issue for me, I used to struggle with, you were quick to judge others, and maybe judging by external things like, well, why aren't they kneeling when I'm kneeling, or why are they wearing that to Mass, or why don't they receive communion this way and not that way? But God isn't judging us on purely the external things, but really it's the internal, the motivation of our hearts as we come into prayer and come closer to Christ. That's what is most important. And we should always be acting out of charity and love, and not to be quick to judge and to pride ourselves on what we're doing and not having charity for others. It reminds me of a letter to the Hebrews that says, "He who loves his neighbor has fulfilled the law. Love never wrongs the neighbor. Hence, love is the fulfillment of the law." So I think the more we focus on trying to emulate the love and the charity that Christ showed, that is the one thing that the Pharisees hate about Jesus, was that with sinners, with tax collectors, and all those that the Pharisees saw as unclean and bad, Jesus had mercy for them. He accepted them, he loved them, and forgave them. So too should we be quick to emulate Christ in his charity and forgiveness. And I know in my own life, like that internal purity, that cleanliness of coming to God and growing in holiness is hard, with concupiscence and our fallen nature. But thank God for the sacrament of reconciliation, that we can always return to God, and that in his great mercy, he wants to forgive us and to clean us, to to become closer to Him and worthy to receive the sacraments, to grow in holiness. So there's always hope. We can always turn to the sacraments for that refreshing of our spirit, a renewed, cleansed spirit. So don't judge. You should love.